Have you ever felt scared of being exposed as the imposter that you are as a sensitive person? If you are really committed to growth and following your intuition, it will take you in places that feel dangerous. You'll feel like a fraud. You'll feel like you made up this life that you've lived. I even feel that way sometimes waking up in the morning because I've had so many different phases of my life where I've lived in different provinces in Canada, or I've lived in different countries like New Zealand, or then I was paralyzed and then I became fit again. And it's just like, you look back and you're like, was that the real me? Am I really the real me today? Like, who is the real me? And that just goes to show that your identity can really change at any time. And when your identity changes, it's scary. You feel like an imposter, for the better or for the worse. It's like when you're paralyzed, you feel like you were an imposter when you were at the gym, leg pressing 400 pounds, or you felt like you were an imposter when you went to Alberta, and you were really from a different province, from Ontario, and you didn't fit in to the usual social climate. The truth is, you're just not an imposter. You're growing. It's a sign that you're actually really successful. And if you're a woman who isn't married or has children, you have a great opportunity on your hands. So many women are so obsessed with finding the perfect partner and having children, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, if it's not happening, you have the greatest opportunity to make your life into whatever you want. You can achieve things that people with children and who are married cannot achieve. And if you have those things in your life, that's great. You can enjoy the quality moments as your child grows up. That's really amazing and meaningful. However, you can't force that kind of thing to happen in your life, and you're wasting your life if you're trying to force something that isn't meant for you. I really believe in destiny on this one, that sometimes our destiny isn't necessarily to get married and have a relationship in our lives. Maybe it is, maybe it's meant to happen in a specific chapter, but truthfully, we have affinity with certain kinds of people, and other people who are different, what will happen is our relationship will be superficial and then it will go away. We'll have that moment together where we laugh, where we're coworkers, and then the next day they're gone and they've moved on to something else. That's how it is in life. And so you can't force a connection. You can't force a long-term relationship. You can open yourself to it by meeting a lot of different people, and maybe you'll bump into somebody who resonates with you. You can increase the odds. But having said that, you have to ask yourself, is that really the best use of your life? Are you really serving society by always looking around for people who might potentially be a partner for you, who might potentially want to marry you and have children? I mean, if you haven't found that person, maybe the best use of your time is starting a business. Maybe the best use of your time is traveling the world. And we'll feel like a fraud. We'll feel like an imposter stepping into these different identities, especially if you're a woman and you're raised and you're breastfed that becoming a mother and having children is the most important thing, that your relationships are the most important thing in your life. And I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying you shouldn't prioritize it if you do have those relationships in your life. However, we have to start letting go of these really strict patriarchal expectations of us as women and really live our lives authentically and do the things that are meaningful to us. The more women who are willing to do that, the more likely we are going to snuff out all of the manipulators, all of the people who try to hoodwink us in society. One of the reasons why politicians can be so manipulative and do what they want, it's because so many people are too scared to be their true selves and really stand up for what they believe in. If more of us actually came forward and we were willing to be public personas on the internet and speak our truth, how likely do you think it would be that politicians could do all of their dastardly things in the dark? The reason why they're able to do that is because we're too scared to come forward. We're too scared of public speaking. We're too scared of taking on an identity that's not a traditional, I'm a wife, I am a mom, or I am a dad, or I am a career person. It's like we're really scared to exit that box that is our identity. And even being a single person in a job can be kind of like an identity. It's like, I have this professional identity. I cannot speak against my organization. I can't represent them in a way that is misleading or is bad or damaging for the organization. And we all have to let that stuff go in order to live a really fulfilled life. And you can have both. You could have a job and a business and a family. You can have all of it. But if you don't have one of these things, don't be so sad about it. Take advantage of what you do have and put forward the skills and opportunities that you do have. Show up in the ways which you can, and don't feel like you're an imposter for doing so. We all have our gifts and our talents, and we all have the ways in which we can show up if we're brave enough to really dig for them and understand who we are as a person. If you're constantly living in fear that you're going to be judged or that you're going to get kicked out of your family or kicked out of your job, and we have so many of these abandonment fears, especially as women, it's like we'll never really live the fulfilled lives that we're meant to. And isn't that just the history and the story of so many women, if you think about it? So many of us have just really lived these limited lives around our families and being of service to them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's time for more of us to step out and say what is really meaningful to us. Maybe the reason why the family structure is not as common or popular is because as women, we're meant to step forward and talk about what is really authentic to us, what is really meaningful to us in our lives, how we can improve society. Maybe that's where we need to put our skills and our talents rather than waiting around hoping that we're going to become a wife or a mom. It's like, no, maybe we should be going to governments and telling them this is the better way to run things. Maybe we become a teacher or a guide for other people and show them our wisdom and our light, so that they can improve their lives. Whatever that mission is, you are not an imposter. And in fact, it's really important for you to share your message, to share your skills, and help people become the best version of themselves. When you're able to do that, you've actually lived your most authentic life. And it doesn't have to follow a traditional blueprint of having children or being married. But what it does have to do is improve society in some way.